Now, this Melbourne incident that we've been reporting on this morning has come as the government is set to introduce the next stage of its anti-terror laws to the Parliament today. The Foreign Fighters Bill will create new offences for entering areas of countries that are declared as terrorist zones. This second tranche of counter-terrorism legislation would also broaden the definition of a terrorist group. With me for her reaction and the Greens' reaction is their Legal Affairs spokesperson, Senator Penny Wright. Senator Wright, thanks for your time. You've seen, I guess, the legislation in brief at this point, but
yes.
What's your reaction to it?
Yes, well, good morning, Kieran. Look, these are significant changes that are being ushered into the Parliament today, and there's a lot of detail that we need to get across. But what is clear is that there will be significant changes to long-held values of our justice system, and there will be liberties of Australian citizens that will be affected. And what the Greens are saying is that we are absolutely committed to protecting Australians from terrorism, but we're also very committed to protecting innocent Australians and safeguarding their rights so that they're not caught up unfairly in changes to the law.
My advice is from the government that they do want this to go to committee stage and then come back for the next parliamentary fortnight. Does that timeline suit the Greens in terms of scrutiny and your wishes for scrutiny here? Would you support that?
Look, these are, as I've said, significant changes, and legal commentators throughout Australia are acknowledging that. So we need to have a thorough inquiry. What is really important is that we don't have some kind of a faux inquiry, a rushed inquiry, because the previous tranche of changes to the law went to the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Intelligence and Security. It was a faux inquiry in a way because it is an exclusive committee. It's only Labor and Coalition members of that committee, so backbenchers and the Greens were excluded from that, and there were certainly complaints from some of the legal submitters that they didn't have enough time to get their heads around it.
Do you accept that there's a need for urgency here, given, I mean, the events of last night in Melbourne show how real the threat is, don't they?
Yes. Well, look, certainly what I do want to say that obviously what happened in Melbourne last night was tragic, and it will be thoroughly investigated as it should be, but we do need to be careful that we don't unduly rush things when we are moving into extremely significant changes to the law which will increase surveillance of Australian citizens, and in some cases there is a real risk that innocent people will be caught up. So yes, we do need to move expeditiously, but we also need to make sure that any unintended consequences are looked at in a thorough inquiry.
Do you accept, though, that the balance, as the Prime Minister argued this week, between people's freedom and security, that delicate balance might have to shift somewhat given the current terror alert?
Kieran, the Australian Greens and others have been saying that balance has been shifting significantly since 2005, when there were other significant changes to the laws, and yet there is not a sense that they have actually made us safer. One of the biggest security threats to Australia is following the US into an unwinnable war in the Middle East. We have to people literally are feeling very, very scared and frightened, and we want to make sure that Australians are safe, but we have to always be looking at whether the changes to the laws are actually making people safer.
But what proof is there that going into that war makes us any bigger a target? Because clearly we were a target before these operations. We were hit fairly dramatically, as you well know, in Bali.
Well, that was some time ago. But
it just shows you that extremists will attack you regardless.
Yes, but there's certainly a lot of evidence that people have become radicalised by previous decisions that have been made. There's clear evidence that the 2003, and there's ex-ambassadors for Australia that are making these comments, that the 2003 Iraq War increased radicalisation and has led to the situation that we're seeing in Iraq at the moment. So what the Greens are saying is, yes, we do need to take moves that will make sure that Australians are protected from terrorism, but we have to be careful that what we are doing doesn't make the situation worse, and we absolutely need to have a scrutiny of any laws that will take away fundamental freedoms of innocent Australians in Australia today.
Senator Wright, thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it this morning.